Most people are able to connect, so I don't think it's something with my router. You may want to try to power off and power on, maybe do a hard reset on your tablets, maybe clear the IP stack off. This isn't working. This was working a second ago. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming in early today. I appreciate it. My name is Chris Ostrowski. I work for a company called IOUG. I used to call this presentation "Bring Your iPads," because you're going to build a mobile app in 1 hour. And I'm starting to change it because a lot of people obviously don't have iPads. They have other kind of mobile devices. And that's really the point of this presentation, is that you can build mobile applications pretty quickly. Using Oracle Application Express, and all the details that go along with building a mobile application. Application Express, the latest version of Application Express, really makes it a lot easier for you. So I started calling it "Bring Your Tablets," because if you work with an Android device, obviously they're pretty popular right now, a mobile device from, let's say, Windows Mobile, you can build applications that can be used in a mobile environment pretty quickly and easily. What we're going to talk about in this presentation, the bulk of it is actually going to be hopping on the network and working through an application to show you how easy it is to build a mobile application using the latest version of Application Express. We're going to have a little bit of background to show what's going on in the mobile space. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because most of it is common sense. And it's common sense in the sense that it's obviously a very popular new platform. More and more people are going to the mobile platform. Users are demanding that type of functionality in their applications. And there's a lot of challenges that go along with developing mobile applications. Obviously, like I said, once we get through that, we're going to spend the bulk of our time going through building an actual application inside of Application Express that we can display on our mobile device. You don't have to use a mobile device to develop the application. Obviously, in most scenarios, you're going to have a laptop, you'll develop your application, push it out to your end users, and then the end users can access it. But I purposely call this "Bring Your Tablets" or "Bring Your iPads" because I wanted to show how cool the functionality is that Oracle is putting into the latest version of Application Express. The company I work for is About.com. We have a booth in the vendor showcase if you want to get more information about us. I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. You can get more information, like I said, at the booth. We're a consulting company. We work with just about all the Oracle technologies that are out there. I also maintain a blog, fourthmonth.wordpress.com, if anybody's interested in my various ramblings and musings about the Oracle community. What are the things that we're going to talk about? We're going to go through an introduction overview. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this. The challenges that most developers go through when they're talking about mobile applications. And obviously, since this is an Oracle conference, I'm going to focus on building Oracle-driven applications in a mobile environment. The languages, the skill sets, the different platforms. There's a really cool technology that Oracle has adopted inside of Oracle Application Express called jQuery Mobile. jQuery Mobile, it's a little confusing the way it's named. It sounds like it's some kind of query language. What it really is a presentation layer. And again, Oracle has incorporated jQuery Mobile into Oracle Application Express 4.2. It's another thing I'm sorry to keep self-referencing myself, kind of recursively going back and talking about things. Everything that you see here is going to be in Oracle Application Express 4.2. It's not in the 3X version, it's not in the 4.0 version or the 4.1 version. The 4.2 version of Application Express added a lot of this mobile functionality. So we're talking about Oracle Application Express 4.2 and higher. jQuery Mobile, again, has been incorporated into Oracle Application Express 4.2, and it gives you a real easy way of developing these mobile-based applications. How do you format stuff on the screen for a little device? Something that rotates, something that people are going to use their finger to click. jQuery Mobile handles all of that stuff for you. We'll go through a quick little background of that. Then we'll hop into Oracle Application Express. We'll start working with the actual tool. We'll build a real simple application. And again, will it be a production quality application? Obviously not. But something that you can build in, again, when you're comfortable with the tool, you'll be able to do it in 5 minutes. It'll take me a little longer to do because I'm going to explain all of the steps. But to be able to build a fully transactional aware, web-based mobile application using Oracle application in 5 minutes is, you know, mind-blowing. Talk to any developer who works with web-based technologies that have to work with transactional databases like an Oracle database or a SQL Server database or a MySQL database, and ask them just to create a basic application that's on the web, that's mobile aware, and that you have an environment here that you can do in 5 minutes. They'll say, no way. There's no way you can do something like that. We're actually going to walk through the steps. And again, like I said, it'll take me a little longer than 5 minutes because I'm going to explain each one of these steps. But when you guys get comfortable with it, you'll be able to bang these out really quickly. Whoops. Now, working great. So step by step, we'll walk through an application. My laptop is pretty beefy. I got a lot of RAM in it. I got a quad-core processor. Still, when we got 50 people hitting it simultaneously through a wireless browser, it may slow down a little bit. Obviously, in a production environment, it should work better for you. So don't get discouraged if you're working here and things seem kind of slow when you're refreshing pages. Again, my setup really isn't designed for a lot of people hitting it simultaneously. But we'll go through and we'll talk about apps, templates, pages, applying the template. Oracle gives you a template right out of the box so that you can start doing mobile development. You can use the one that Oracle provides for you. You can also modify that template. You're not locked into that one template. And then we'll actually view it on a mobile device. So, introduction and overview. I could spew a ton of Gartner stats at you, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows who Gartner is, right? They're an organization that make all these white papers about where the trends in the industry are going. I can show you all of these different stats that are out there. Snooze, everybody's going to fall asleep, first session of the day, caffeine hasn't kicked in yet. Common sense, everybody knows, BYOD, bring your own device. Everybody's bringing their own device to meetings, to the organization. They want to be able to access mail and applications and do all of these things mobily. That's obviously a super hot thing going on right now. Two of the big challenges that you'll have when developing mobile applications are obviously the user interface. We've all been to websites that didn't have a mobile application version of their website, right? And trying to do it on an iPhone or even on a tablet can be a real challenge. More and more organizations have specifically mobile-based pages where they can determine what browser you're using to get on the page and then they redirect you to a different page. Those sites that don't, you know, it's virtually impossible. You have to pinch and stretch and you can't really see anything. Those companies that have their mobile sites, it's much more flexible. It's much more interactive. That users can get the information they need on a regular basis. And you want to be able to provide that to your end users in your Oracle application also. Then the other big challenge that you're going to have to determine is whether to build a native application or a web-based application. What we're talking about in this class and what we're talking about in Application Express is not building a native application. We're talking about a web-based application that will get formatted automatically for your mobile device. There's pros and cons to each one of these, and we'll go through them in the next couple of slides. So what are the challenges that go along with developing mobile applications? Well, you have different versions of operating systems, right? Apple is pretty good about getting everybody upgraded, and obviously they control the entire infrastructure. They can control the hardware, they control the operating system and everything like that. So these statistics were taken about 3 months ago, and most people are on some version of iOS 6. Some people are on 5, some people are on 4. So if you're developing for the iOS platform and you want to target a specific operating system, it's relatively easy, but Android is all over the place. This was as of December. There was only 2% on 4.1, yet 24% on 4.04. 56% is still running a real old version of Android, 2.3.7. Android is a heck of a lot more tricky, right? Does anybody have an Android device? Why is it more tricky? Sometimes whatever device you have isn't supported. Sometimes the vendor of your phone or your Android tablet, they say, you know what, you're not getting Jelly Bean. Sorry, you're not getting the 4 version because we're just not going to upgrade you. You're stuck in an older version. So this has changed dramatically just in the 3 months, right? 4.1, the acceptance of that has gone up. Google has released 4.2 of Jelly Bean with a whole bunch of new functionality. So if you're trying to target a specific operating system and you're trying to target specific features in an operating system, in Android it's hard as heck to do that. And this is all what we're talking about, native applications. Windows, right? You got Windows Mobile, Mobile 2003, Pocket PC 2002. There's still people using it. There's still people with Pocket PC 2002 versions out there. Do you want to exclude those people when you're actually developing your applications? This can be a real challenge for developing native applications. What language are you going to do it in? If you want to support multiple platforms, you have to know all of these different languages. iOS uses this thing called Objective-C, which is kind of C, it's kind of Java, it's kind of their own flavor of it. Android uses Java, and I put ish here because it's not really pure Java, right? Oracle sued Google a couple of years ago, and the lawsuit is still going on because Android kind of took Java and they forked it and they kind of did their own thing with it. So it's mostly Java, but it's kind of Java-ish. Windows, you have the whole .NET framework that you have to learn. If you want to support multiple platforms, this can be a real challenge. For most developers, just learning one of these environments, it's not just learning Objective-C, it's learning the entire ecosystem. For Android, for Windows, for .NET, that could be a real challenge if you want to support multiple platforms natively. Wouldn't it be better maybe if we could just have a web-based application that any browser can accept, and then we can format it so that it looks nice on whatever type of tablet that, or whatever type of mobile device we're looking at? Oh, don't tell me this thing's going again. Love of Pete. I think my battery's going. I apologize for that, folks. Yeah. So, for native applications, you need a bunch of different skill sets. You need different programming language environments. You need people who understand user interface to develop and have a mobile user interface that's very friendly for different types of devices. Some people have the big iPads, some people have the 7-inch Kindle Fires, some people have the iPhone, some people have the Samsung Galaxy, which is bigger than an iPhone, gives you a little more real estate. So, some of the other issues for developing natively, right? iOS, you have to do your test through an emulator. You cannot move your application natively to your iOS device to actually have somebody use it. Now, the emulators are really good that are out there, but it's not the same. It's not the same as actually working on an iOS device. The only way to do it is you got to pay your $100 fee to Apple. You have to move your application up there. You have to get it approved. Then you can move it through the store to your actual device. That's really a pain. Android is a lot more flexible. You can develop inside of an environment like a Java environment like Eclipse, and then move it over to your Android device relatively easily. But there's different APIs for tablets, different APIs for handhelds. If anybody's done any type of development, one of the things that you have to do before you can set up your Eclipse environment is download the latest set of APIs. And again, Google is very generous about making those available to you, but it's still a pain in the neck. It's still hard to coordinate source code and different versions of Android. For Windows, there's this huge overhead for handheld development. You have to download the whole .NET stack. You have to understand how all of those different pieces work together just to develop for a Windows device. There are a couple of Visual Basic applications that you can develop that you can deploy directly to a Windows, what are they calling it, RT device or Windows mobile device. But there's still a tremendous amount of overhead to develop a simple Windows application that can be used in Windows mobile. So I'm not trying to discourage anyone from developing native applications. That's certainly going to give you the best performance bang for your buck to actually run on those devices. You can take advantage of a lot of the things that are native to the device if you go through and develop a native applications. But again, for an Oracle-based application, typically you're looking at transactional type environments where maybe you don't have to interact with the actual hardware on the machine. Yes, Tony?
Just a little footnote. You can authorize local devices without going through the iTunes store.
Is that something that's new?
No.
It isn't? Oh, I thought you always had to...
It's a pain, but you can make your personal phone or iPad work locally.
I apologize. Tony said that you can authorize local devices to test on iOS devices, so I apologize for that. But it's still kind of a pain.
By serial number, though. It's that.
By serial number, right, for that device. Okay. But it's still kind of a pain to develop these things. That's the point I'm trying to make with this slide overall. Again, the different platforms that are out there, if you're going to develop for iOS, you're limited to OS X. You have to have an OS X device out there. You have to use Xcode and go out there to do all that. Windows Mobile, obviously, is going to be limited to Windows. You can't, there's no development environment for the Mac that you can develop native Windows Mobile applications. Android is pretty flexible. You can develop an OS X, Windows, Linux, whatever you're comfortable with. But again, these are all basic fundamental kind of limitations we're talking about. We want to get rid of as many of those limitations as we possibly can. And Oracle Application Express kind of does that.
What is going on here?
jQuery Mobile is, again, I think it's misnamed a little bit because it sounds like some kind of query language or something that's going to go out there and, you know, natively interact with databases or something like that. It really doesn't have anything to do with that. jQuery Mobile is a framework that was developed specifically for wireless handheld devices. And there's a lot of things that are added to the standard libraries that are out there that allow for things like rotating the screen from portrait to landscape. Stuff like being able to double-click with your finger, being able to drag and drop with your finger, being able to swipe. Stuff that is traditionally not associated with traditional development that goes out on a PC or a native application that would run on either a PC or a Mac or something like that. So jQuery Mobile kind of adds all of those things to it. And what Oracle has done in the 4.2 version of Application Express is that they have a native jQuery interpreter that goes in and when it serves up web pages and you have all your jQuery tags in there, when it comes time to look at a mobile device, all of those things are there for you automatically. You don't have to go through and do additional programming if you want to take the basic functionality. But just like everything else in a typical programming language inside of a web environment, there's a whole bunch of attributes that you can go in there and set and say, okay, I want it to behave like this when somebody long presses, when somebody swipes. I want this behavior to happen. You can take the default values, but you can certainly do that also. All of this is designed to make your applications a heck of a lot easier. We want to reduce the amount of time a developer is thinking about the user interface. How is this actually going to work on a mobile device? What happens when the user does this or swipes this? We don't want the developer to work on that. We want the developer to really focus on the business logic, making sure their applications are working properly. Oh, I don't think this thing's going to work. I'm just going to have to. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So a little bit of background on jQuery Mobile. It's compatible with almost all mobile platforms that are out there. Virtually every browser that is created for iOS, Android, BlackBerry, WebOS, Windows Phone 7 supports jQuery Mobile. It's built on top of the jQuery core, so it has a minimal learning curve for people who are already familiar with it. Theming framework allows for the creation of custom themes. What's a theme? A theme in jQuery means the same thing as it does in Application Express. A theme is nothing more than a collection of templates. Templates that say, okay, what font am I going to use? What's the background color going to look like? Am I going to have some kind of image displayed there? So a theme is nothing more than a collection of those different templates together. And there's some really cool tools that are out there for jQuery. And you can incorporate inside your application where you can actually give end users the ability to change themes. They can go out there and say, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to design my own theme. I want it to be a black background with green text, and I want the buttons to be rounded and have all of this stuff. And you can put inside your application the ability for users to go in there and change their own themes along. You can give them a predefined set of themes inside your application so that it can customize it and get it to look exactly the way they want to. HTML5 driven configuration for laying out pages with minimal scripting. AJAX-powered navigation for animated page transitions that provide the ability to clean URLs to push state. UI widgets that are touch-optimized and platform-agnostic. That is the key. We don't want to lock anybody into a specific technology, right? We want to give them the ability to say, okay, I'm going to pull this up on an Android device. I'm going to pull it up on an iPad. I want to be able to develop on a Mac. I want to be able to develop on a Linux machine. We can do all of these really cool things. A lot of the limitations that go along with native app development are taken away from this framework. So the basics that go along with jQuery, there's an HTML5 doc type that gets associated with it. jQuery has mobile style sheets. There are multi-page templates, dialogues, themes. Everything that you would think that's in a typical web environment is available for you in jQuery. Does Oracle Application Express 4.2 support every feature that's in jQuery? No. They support probably 80 to 85% of all the things that are in the jQuery standard, and it's impossible for Oracle really to support everything that's in jQuery because it's changing constantly. People are adding new features and new frameworks, and they're updating it, but the version that comes along with Application Express 4.2 probably has about 90% of the functionality of jQuery, certainly all of the major pieces that you're going to need. For developers who want to create quick applications like we're going to do here in a few minutes, you don't even have to worry about the gory details of what's going on inside of jQuery. Most of the time, the things that are created inside of jQuery for you will be sufficient for you to create basic applications that you can create on mobile devices. You're not limited to that. You're not limited to what Oracle is going to generate for you. You can certainly go in there and enhance the templates. You can change anything around. And the example I gave earlier was giving end users the ability to go in there and create their own mobile templates so they can change colors and fonts and the view around. You can certainly do all of those types of things. So you don't have to get into the gory guts of jQuery if you don't want to. But if you do want to, it's very easy to do so inside of I almost said JDeveloper, inside of Application Express. My battery says full stack. I don't know what's going on here.
Keyboard's timed out.
I'm sorry?
Keyboard times out.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening. So the advantage of using jQuery, it's easy to learn, very quick to iterate. You can avoid the App Store approval, like Tony said. You can avoid that by locking yourself into a particular device. But again, it's just one of those things that we want to get rid of as many roadblocks, as many hassles as the developer has to go through. Cross-platform, cross-device provides abstraction over rotating device, doing a swipe. There's a very large library of code. And if you look at the function code here, it's very similar to other languages that you've probably seen for developing inside of a web environment. It's very similar to JavaScript. Some of the disadvantages, it's a little slower, obviously, than native applications. Some of the things in jQuery Mobile are a little quirky, but they're kind of working out a lot of the details, the standard towards that go along with that. And there's limited capabilities as opposed to developing a native application. Develop a native application, you get access to the hardware, the actual sound, the file system. Obviously, Apple tries to keep you away from the file system, but there's still ways you can do it. jQuery doesn't have as many capabilities as getting down to the actual hardware. But again, for an Oracle application, we're usually talking about transactional type things, reporting type things. Usually, we don't have to get down to the actual hardware level on our mobile device. Come on, there we go. So I am about to violate the #1 rule of good presentations. Well, actually, the #1 rule of giving a good presentation is having an empty bladder. I took care of that. The #2 rule of good presentation is don't do live demos. But this stuff is cool enough that I didn't want to just sit up here and actually do it. I'm trying to make this as interactive as possible. And again, I apologize for those of you who are having trouble connecting to the link system. This is the point of the show where we're actually going to do a live demo. We're actually going to get on there and start working with Oracle Application Express. So again, we talked about what templates are, right? Templates are nothing more than groupings of themes. Templates are the individual components that make up our page, whether we're talking about a report or a button or a text box or anything like that. Templates are then grouped together in a theme. Oracle provides one theme for you for mobile development as of right now. You know they're going to give more and more as time goes on. But as of right now, there's just one theme. You're not limited to that theme. You can certainly take that theme and enhance it, change it around, save it as a new theme. But for the purpose of this demo and this demonstration, we're going to use the default theme that comes with Oracle Application Express. We're going to go through, we're going to build our application. So from the Oracle documentation, Oracle Express does not include the entire jQuery UI library. You can easily activate other components of the jQuery UI by including the relevant files. For example, we use the tabs jQuery widget, and this is all documented pretty well inside the Oracle documentation. But again, what Oracle provides for you out of the box with Oracle Application Express 4.2 is probably 80 to 90% of the entire jQuery library. It certainly has all of the fundamental pieces that you're going to need. And here's an example of being able to reference a particular template inside of a link that the Oracle Application Server Express, Oracle Application Express Server, is going to serve up to an end user. You can see when they have these things, these pound, the substitution strings like image prefix, but you can see you can just list the different themes and the different libraries that you want to start using inside your application. There's no super duper magic about it. It's just sort of learning all of the different syntax that are out there. Again, you don't have to get down to the code level. We're not going to do that as part of the demo that I'm about to start here in a few minutes. But you could if you wanted to. So let's go through step by step. What are the first things that we have to do? Well, we have to create an application. We're not going to create a template. We're going to use the existing Oracle Application Express template that they give you out of the box for jQuery. We're going to create our pages, and again, we're not going to apply the template because we're going to say at the application level that we want to use the jQuery mobile template, and that will automatically be assigned to our pages. You can have an application, again, this is pretty common, where you have a standard page and a mobile page, where it's a real simple test inside of your page to say, hey, who's accessing this? Is somebody accessing this from a desktop? Okay, show the desktop version. Oh, somebody's accessing this from a mobile device. You know what? Go over and redirect the user to the mobile version of the page. And then we'll actually take a look at a review on the mobile device. Oh, we don't want to get to questions yet. That's too early. All right, so now, all my energy, I'm going to have to kind of tether myself to my iPad. And again, I eat my own dog food. I'm not going to run this demo off anything. I'm going to actually run this right off my iPad. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. I had this working. No. See, this is why you don't do live demos. This is why you don't do it. I'm going to turn it off and turn it on.
I think we need to hit the select button on the projector.
That was working before. I flipped between.
But it doesn't know whether you want to watch a video or your computer.
Son, this is why you don't do live demos. I got here early. I got up at 6 o'clock. I drove in. Everything was working. Oh, don't do this to me, please.
Oh, you know what? We need to tell it to connect to PC though.
Think so?
Yeah.
I unplugged it from there and I plugged it in here.
Input. There we go. And we got to go to computer one, I'm guessing. Is that you yet? Oh, they're on. Maybe they're on computer two. Is that you?
I purposely came in early and it worked. Oh, son of a gun. This is why you don't do live demos.
Well, let's try the other options. You're not on this video.
No, it's got to be the.
It's going to be one of these two.
Let me turn off.
RGB PC picture.
Yeah, I tried that.
Does that look like it's got it right. Is it on one or two?
All right, let me put the PC back in. We can figure out what it's listening on.
This one, that's computer one.
Yeah. Okay, so we're on the right place. Okay. Selected it. Still not right.
All right, now I can't even get this back.
Well, interesting. All right, so.
All right, I can't even get my laptop
We're not
out.
on RGB, change components.
Yeah, I think we might have broken this.
I'll go get the AV guy.
All right, that's the laptop. So I took this out, and plugged this in here. Did this, I came in early to make sure this was all working. Doesn't go on. Hey, all right. Enough brain power, we can get this working. All right. So, everybody been able to get to this page? Oh,
because he turned it, that's when it does it like so like yeah.
Son of a... So it doesn't work. Oh, there it goes. Alright, so...
I'll try to keep it landscape because we can fit more on the screen. Alright. Sorry, AV person. Sorry about that. Looks like we got it. Alright. So, is everybody able to log in and be able to get to the things, right? I gave everybody a number, dev01, dev14. Still got a hand raised there in the back. Okay, so we did get somebody else connecting. If anybody else has had a problem, shoot, I'm afraid to take this out again. Do it. Afraid to do it. All right. Get back to this. Come on. All right. Now it's confused. There's the IP address. So everybody been able to connect to that? 192.168.1.102. I'm listening on 8080/Apex. Everybody else been able to log in? How are we doing on time, by the way? 8:50, so I still got a decent amount of time. Everybody okay? I still see a person looking up there. Are you one of the people out there? Yeah, it should be like this. A couple of people that are having problems with that, they turn their machine on. So you guys just have to did you do anything special, or did it just like getting in and connected originally? Again, I apologize. I see a lot of activity on the Linksys router here. All right. I'm nervous. Switch it back again. $40 for this stupid little adapter from Apple. It probably cost them 30 cents to mail. Alright. I'm going to hold it with my left hand so that the connection stays tight. Alright. I'm going to have to stand here, I think. Which I hate to do because I have too much energy to kind of stand. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to do that. All right. So, has everybody got to this page? Everybody been able to log in? Login worked for everybody, right? Dev and numbers and everything like that. What's the first thing we want to do? We want to create a new application. So we click on the create button, and we should get to a page where, and again, I'm running kind of slow because everybody's hitting this at the same time, and a combination of my routers being hit and the database is being hit. But eventually we should get to this. We're going to create a database application. Not going to worry about web sheets for now or package applications or anything like that. Really cool features of Apex 4.2. Presentation right after this. I'm doing what's new in 4.2. I'm going to talk about some of the new features that are in 4.2. We'll talk about some of those things. But for now, just click on database because we're going to build a database-based application. Give your application a unique name. For everybody who has like, Dev06 and Dev07, give your application a unique name so you don't step on each other. We're all in the same workspace here. But just give them a different name like Dev06 or, Dev10 or whatever you want to call it here. Since I'm the admin, I'm going to just leave it as admin01. The schema is who I'm going to have access to in the database. Everything that gets parsed through the database is going to go through the schema. And I've defaulted everybody. It should default to IMA. Again, iPad mobile application. The key thing before you hit next, user interface. We're going to hit the drop-down box and we're going to change that. Everybody see this? jQuery mobile smartphone. That's what we're going to choose. Click next. By default, you get a home page that goes along with your application. You can create other pages that go along during the application creation process, or you can go back in, obviously, after you've developed your application and add pages. We're going to create an application That's part of the application process. We're going to create another page. So click on a report, and click either on the radio button, and then click the add page button, or you can just click the icon with your finger. So I'm just going to click the icon with my finger for report. I might have fat fingered. Let me just click the radio button. So click the add page just to get myself started. So there it goes. So if I scroll down, it'll say, okay, what table do I want to base this report on? So click on select table, and we'll just do a simple one. Scroll all the way down and click, let's click the department table. Real simple table. List the departments in my organization. Once I've selected that, click add page. And once I click add page here, we should see another entry. We got my home page here that's already blank. I'm going to have a second page here that's going to reflect my report. So I click on add page. And now I have the second page here. Is everybody following up to this point? Not going too fast or too slow for anybody? Somebody raise their hand with a concerned look on their face? Oh, give me a thumbs up. Excellent. I like those. I don't get those too often. I like those. All right. So we've got one page associated with our report. We click on next. Shared components from another application. Oracle Application Express allows you to create things like lists of values, stuff that you might use over and over again. We don't have any shared components for this application, so just say no. We'll click next again. Let's take the authentication scheme off. By default, you can set up users inside of Application Express. If we make it no authentication, it's like having a public page. For this example, that'll be fine. So we'll just click on this, and you can see you can change default language. You can set different timestamp formats. We're not going to do any of that stuff, but you have the ability to do that. Click on next. Here's the only theme that's available to us. Oracle Application Express out of the box has tons of different themes. But because we selected this as a jQuery mobile application, the only one that gets shown to us out of the box is theme 50. Themes are nothing more than collections of templates, right? So we have all of these different pieces here that are associated specifically with a mobile application. So since this is the only one that we have the option to, just leave it selected there. We can pull down and show different themes that are associated with this, but obviously if we change those themes and then we try to display it on a mobile device, it's going to look weird. So we're going to stick with jQuery Mobile right here. Just leave it the way it is. Click Next. We have a summary page at the end that says, do you want to create this application? Does everything look okay? Haven't written a line of code. Haven't put any business logic in this whatsoever. Haven't put anything to do with jQuery mobile templates or the code that goes behind jQuery. Use everything that's just native right out of the box. Click Create Application. And once we do that, Oracle's going to go through and it's going to do a whole bunch of magic. What is Oracle really doing at this point? And again, for those of you who already know Application Express, I apologize. This is a lot of basic stuff for you. But for those of you who are not familiar with Application Express, what it's doing right now is it's going through, it's generating a bunch of PL SQL packages. It's going through and it's saying, okay, these are all the defaults that you gave me for this particular application. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to generate PL SQL packages. I'm going to store them inside the database. No! What is this? This page was already submitted. What in the world? Sorry about that. Again, we're probably 50 of us hitting the Application Express at the same time. If anybody else gets this, let me try to continue here. But what Application Express is, again, doing is it's taking all the things that you answered as part of the wizards, and it's generating a whole bunch of PL SQL code that it then stores inside the database. When it comes time to serve up these pages, Oracle Application Express is reading those PL SQL packages, sending them to a web browser. You can either use the native application server that comes inside the database. It's the XML server that comes along with this. Or you can use something called the Apex Listener, which gives you a true 3-tier architecture. Continue didn't do anything, so let me turn your application. Am I the only one getting this? Are other people getting this? To create application, you need constraint.
Looks like you hit create twice.
Did I? Fat finger it.
Let's go to list of apps, see if we're
Killing me. This is why you don't do like that. This is exactly. So it looks like everybody went through and created. Did somebody else leave admin 01
That's you.
when I told you to change it? You guys are killing me.
No, that's you.
Is that me?
That's you. You just hit the button twice. It's running so slow.
That might have. All right. Did everybody get to this page? I see nods. I don't see anybody giving me a thumbs down, right? So what is this page? This is a page that lists all the components of my application. By default, I get this page 0, this global page. A page 0 that's in your application is a special page where anything you put on it, any region that you put on it, automatically gets propagated to all the other pages inside your application. It's a real convenient way of making a change globally to all the pages in your application. Maybe you want to put user at the top of the page or the timestamp or something like that. You can put it on the global page and it automatically gets assigned to everybody else. You automatically get a login page. We're never going to see this page because what did we do? We said, don't use any type of authentication. Just make this an open page for everybody. Page 2 is the one that we actually went through and created. This is the one where we answered the questions on the wizard. We said, okay, we want a report. What type of report do we want that? Oh no, my wife is sending me stuff to do house projects. Hopefully there's nothing. Honey-do list, change pictures. Oh, my wife is killing me. This is why you don't do live demos. This is so embarrassing. I know, I need to turn those alerts off. I apologize. I know it's 9 o'clock because that's when they come through every day. My wife has a honey-do list. You gotta do this. We planted a new tree in the backyard. And of course it's like a little sapling and the dog is digging it up all the time. So my wife is like, you gotta figure out a way to go to Home Depot and get something that you can put on the tree that won't kill the tree, but it'll stop the dog from digging up. I'm solving major problems here every day. I don't have time to figure out dog stuff. Anyway, department. We can run department now, right? We've got the little run arrow here on the side. We can click that and actually run the application. I fat fingered again. Oh, there it is. Okay. So again, all of you are hitting this simultaneously. My laptop, even though it's beefy, it's not a true server environment. My router, obviously not a true server environment. We have a mobile application. Again, not production, not terribly exciting. But, let's screw this up. Turn it. Automatically resizes. Did you see how all the columns got resized automatically? I turn it this way, it expands out, gives me more information there. I have basic ability to sort. If I click on department number, it'll resort the page. Instead of descending, it'll resort by ascending. It's thinking about it. Come on, you can do it. Live demo, I'm doing it. I can click on location, and I'll get the little arrow next to location. You can see it's doing it descending, or ascending, excuse me. And I click it again, and now it's doing ascending. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but it works. If this was a form, we would have fully transactional capabilities through our web browser, through our mobile device. We would be able to insert, update records. As a matter of fact, let's go do that, just for fun. Let's click on the home button, and click on the home button again. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to take me where I want to go. So let's hit the back button. I wonder if I hit log out. Does that log me out altogether, or does it take me back to the page? No, it doesn't take me back to the page. So hit the back button a couple of times, and eventually you should be able to get it back to.
Is a simple solution that doing what Tony suggested in his presentation with just making a common menu or something?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not going to let me.
Just go to working.
There we go. So if you can't get back to this page by hitting back, just put the 192.168.102.8080/apex, and because of the cookie that you got when you logged in, you'll take it back to this page. Just for fun, let's do a form. We got a few minutes left here, right? 9:03, I got till 9:15. Let's do a form. So let's create a new page. So we got the create page button over here. Let's do that. What type of report, what type of region do I want to have on this page? Right, I can create a blank page, multiple blank pages. What we created before was a report. Let's go through and create a form this time. So I click on form. Click next. Do I want it on a procedure? Really cool, I can base forms off web services. So if I have a web service that I want to interface with, somebody's already created something for me, I can base a form and report on a web service. I can base it on a table that automatically generates a report for me. I can have those as multiple tabs inside my application, so I can have a form, have the user click on a particular record, be taken over to, be in a report, have the user click on a particular record, automatically be taken to the form that's associated with that record, have the user input stuff. Application Express will do all of that stuff for me automatically. Let's just do a simple form on a table or view. So I'll click on Form on Table or View. Come on, I want to show you some cool stuff. Again, I default to the user when I set you all up as users. I gave you a default table owner, IMA. Again, I call this iPad mobile application. I'm going to have to change that to TMA for table mobile application. And let's pick a view or a table to go against. And again, what did we do before? We did department. Let's do employee this time. So I'll click on the M table, click on Next. What page number? I can say it automatically just defaults to the next page in the series. We can just leave it as 3. We can change the actual page name. We can change the region that goes along with the page. We can change any of the stuff around that we want. Do we want to use the standard user interface defaults that go along with this? Again, if I click no, I have the ability to go in there and use all of the editors to say I want to change the template around. But if I just say use the user interface default, it's going to take everything from that theme that I selected, right? The jQuery mobile theme, theme 50, and develop all of the stuff for me there automatically. So I click on Next. I have to say what type of primary key is going to drive my particular table. I can either do it by the row ID or the primary key columns. It's a good idea to have the primary key columns. It makes things a heck of a lot easier. I already have this table set up so that my emp now is my primary key. One of the things to note that's important when you're doing Application Express development is you notice on the screen I only have 2 options for my primary key, right? Primary key 1, primary key 2. If I have a lot of tables inside my system where I use a composite key as my primary key that's more than 2 columns, Apex doesn't handle that too out of the box. You certainly can use it, but it's something to consider. So if you have a lot of composite keys that make up more than 2 columns inside your tables, you're going to have to do some extra work. In this case, I have empno is my only primary key in this particular table, but it's just something to consider. Do I have an existing trigger on this table? I do. To update that information if I add new records, so just leave on existing trigger and say yes. What do I want to actually see on the form? So here are all the different things that are available to me. These are already selected in my select columns. It's not displaying this box correctly. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I haven't seen that before. But it's not displaying that box correctly. But I already have the columns that are selected, and all of them are selected in this particular case. So I'll just leave it the way it is. Next. Do I want to have a create button? Do I want to have a save button? Do I want to have a delete button? That's just for fun. We don't want to delete. We don't want the users to be able to delete anything. So I'm going to click on show delete button and turn that into no. After the page is submitted, where do I want to actually go? So do I want to just go back to the page? Do I want to redirect the user to someplace else? I'll say, you know what, I just want to keep them on that page. So if I click on a little arrow there, it'll say which one do you want to take it to. So that's interesting, we didn't bring the page through, even though I'm on page 3. So I'll just manually put it through those. So I just say when it comes time for me to either submit the page or cancel, I just want to stay on the page forever. I don't want to take them away. Next, here's my summary page, click create. Now, not only do I have a mobile application, I have a fully transactionally aware application. And again, for those of you who do web development, you know that that's an unbelievable pain in the neck to make sure that all the transactional consistency between what's on your page and the user hitting the forward button and the back button and the cancel button and shutting down the browser, starting the browser back up, making sure all of that transactional consistency is mirrored inside your database. That is an unbelievable pain in the neck. Most developers have a nightmare going through all of that stuff. If you work with Java, does anybody here work with Java or anything like that? There's an entire layer of tools called a persistence layer that developers have to be aware of when they're developing their applications. So not only if you're using a Java environment, do you have to worry about the user interface and the business logic and everything else that goes inside your application. You have this persistence layer that you have to maintain with what's going on inside the database, because again, the users can hit the forward button, they can hit the back button, they can put in a different URL, it takes them to another part of the application. All of that stuff has to be maintained. With Apex, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Apex is handling all of that magic for you behind the scenes. Let's click Run Page. I now have a fully transactional form here where I can actually enter new people. So I can go through, and again, I'm going to turn it sideways, and you can see how this page isn't terribly exciting, but it kind of, you know, redefines everything. I can put, whoa, don't do that. Fingered it. So I'll put it myself. Good job. Big boss man. Whoop. We don't have a manager. You can notice how on hire date it was smart enough to see that this was a date field defined in my database. So it automatically created this little thing for me here so that I have this selection for thing automatically. I said, okay, July 2010. Salary. $100. What did Steve Jobs pay himself? He paid himself, I think, $1 a year from Apple. He just lived off the stock options. I'll give myself a nice fat commission. $2,000 for a commission. My department number is Department 10. Create. Camera. Demos, making me nervous. Refresh the page, action process. I have a fully transactional page. Again, is it exciting? No. Snooze, right? But anybody who's done any kind of web development knows what an unbelievable pain this is to go through and create all of this different information. Again, the transactional consistency. This gets away from mobile development, but the transactional consistency that Application Express does for you automatically, you don't have to worry about anything. I didn't run a line of code. I went through a wizard. And I explained it to you guys as I was doing it. Once you guys get comfortable with this, you'll be able to crank these out in like 2 minutes. Your boss comes to you and says, you know, we need a mobile version of this application so users can walk around our warehouse and update inventory automatically. So they can look at a piece of, they can look at a crate, okay, we've got 100 of those, we can update that information. You'll be able to crank these out like you're, like nothing. Like it's a piece of cake. That's one of the really great things about Application Express. Application Express gets a bum rap. A lot of people, Tony did a great presentation yesterday about enterprise-wide tools for Application Express. It's still kind of the little brother of JDeveloper. Oracle still talks about JDeveloper and ADF, and I'm not, you know, disparaging those tools in any way, shape, or form. They are fantastic tools. Application Express is not a hobbyist language. It is not a language that you just go out there and you kind of bang out an application and you sneak it inside your organization. It's free. It's part of the database. If you have a 10G database or higher, it's already there inside your database, just sitting there waiting to be used. The latest version has a lot of really cool features. My next presentation, again in this room, sorry, I'm running out of breath here, is going to talk about some of the 4.2 features, like web services, like some of the things that we talked about here, being able to develop mobile applications relatively easily. It's an unbelievably cool tool. And again, it's free. There's no revenue stream for Oracle. So are they tremendously excited about it? No. They want you to buy JDeveloper. They want you to buy the WebLogic Service Stack. Again, I'm not disparaging them. Great tools. But it's overkill for a lot of people. For people who have simple transactional type situations where they want to develop applications, they want to get their mobile applications up and running pretty quickly, this is a fantastic tool to use. Whew, I really am running out of breath here. Questions? Yes, sir. The question was, I want to make sure I say this right, if you have a blog, right? If you have a blog, yes, Oracle Application Express understands everything about the database. It is native to the database. Again, what did we say? It's generating PL/SQL packages. It's running directly out of my database. So blogs like pictures, images, sound files, video files, absolutely. You can store any of that stuff inside your database and then be able to retrieve it back. I worked for a law firm in downtown Denver. One of the things that they do is they scan legal documents. That's their big thing. They scan them, they have to have all of that stuff saved forever and ever. In case the building burns down or anything like that, if they lose all of those documents, that's a huge thing. They built an Oracle Application Express application where they could scan all their legal documents, signatures, stamps, everything like that, store it directly as blobs in the database, be able to search those documents, which was really cool, and be able to pull them up at any particular time. So anything that's in the Oracle database, any of the cool features that are there, Oracle Text, all of the multimedia stuff, anything that's available to you there is available to you in Application Express. Is Application Express great for message type environments? Does everybody know when I say message type environments? SOA type environments, where you're sending messages back and forth to different components of your enterprise system. Application Express isn't great for that. And if that's the case, where you have a messaging type environment where you have queues and you have all of these different things going all over the place, you really need a SOA environment. You really need to go to JDevelop. Application Express doesn't need that. But for just about any other type of requirement for your application, Apex is great. The mobile applications that go along with ADF, unbelievably cool stuff. But again, a huge learning curve. If you don't have that Java knowledge inside your organization, you don't have that object-oriented thinking inside your organization, that is a tremendous training environment that you're going to have to set up. Most of your developers should know PL SQL already if they're working with the Oracle database. If they know PL SQL already, they pretty much know Application Express. Any other questions? Yes, sir, way in the back. The question is, if you develop something on your desktop, can you just convert it to the mobile version automatically? You can apply the theme, you can copy the page, and then apply the jQuery mobile theme to that particular page. Is it going to work perfectly on the first try? Probably not. You're probably going to have to go in there and tweak it a little bit, but it can get you 75% of the way there. So you can take an existing page, copy that page, so you'll have two versions of the page, and then just apply the jQuery template to it. You'll get most of this functionality. Again, depending on what's going on behind the scenes, you may have to tweak it a little bit, but it'll get you a good portion of the way there. Does that answer your question? Someone else had a hand up? How would this look like on a desktop? It's kind of going to look the same here. Oh, you're going to make me change the thing again. I'm sweating. You're making me sweat. I'm getting my daily workout. So, I'll show you what it looks like on the desktop here. Come on. Come on. All right, so I want to exit this. I want to exit that. Let's go back here to Application Builder. Oh, I timed out, so it's going to make me log in again. Oh, I don't remember my password. Too many passwords. So, admin 01, no, I don't want to run it, I want to edit it. Come on. Come on, Chris, focus. I got 3 presentations back to back. I don't know what the guys were thinking. So this is what it looks like on the desktop. If I click the down arrow button for department here in my navigation, that's what it looks like. So it looks kind of similar to what you see there. You got the same functionality. That's a real good question. The question was, how come I don't see the buttons underneath because I'm logged in as a developer? Under normal circumstances, when you run a page inside of Application Express, you'll see a whole bunch of buttons along here on the bottom if you're logged in as a developer that says, I want to edit the page or I want to edit the application. For the mobile device, for that one theme, it just doesn't show the stuff. I don't know why. It doesn't show, yeah, I don't know why it does that. Tony might know.
You can get them to show, I forget what the setting is. If you go on the help form, just say no button showing in mobile device, and you'll see a bunch of people answer it.
Okay. So, yeah, it must just be a switch that Oracle doesn't turn on by default. I'm hanging out here. Like I said, I got the next session in the same room, so I'm not going anywhere. Thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget your evaluations. You have to go to the website. Thanks again. Joseph, yes.
Yeah, I'll take them. Thanks. Key management stuff, or whatever we're going to do that is a quick application. It's awesome. Very
Sorry, so I got a question. There was no button for the employee report we just did. I'm imagining you just added to show up in the navigation.
Exactly, yes. Yes, if you go into the page
Okay, so it's in
yeah. If you go in there, you can see
What's it doing?
so
Okay.
by default, it's not showing you
Well,
the information because we just
let
it's not keeping
Try to give me an explanation, and then we can figure out where you went and what.
itself, or you can go into that page and say, you know,
Probably
all the way on the
overlay
left-hand
with
side, give me a
package.
We'll send them.
All
That's it.
over the place. Called DBMS. It's a HTML package. It says for output in HTML, and then
Application Express installed.
okay. So what Application Express is leveraging functions in the database that can generate web. Okay, and it's a declarative repository of information in a schema typically called flows underscore something else. And in there is all of the answers to all the questions it was answering when we developed the application. And what it does is it basically has a big fancy package that says, what are you trying to do? Looks it up, renders the page using the, sorry, I'm not remembering the name of the package that generates web pages on forums. And it's basically just rendering same information. That way, filling in the blanks with data from the database wherever is necessary. Unlike most traditional web pages where there's a flat file somewhere, there's no flat file anywhere. .html or .html. Everything is rendered dynamically in the database. Every single page, every new employee, every new report is all regenerated from scratch. It's amazing how quickly it does it. It does it. It's very, very highly optimized. Is that where you're going with your question, or
No, it's actually probably even more to push this down. Okay, cool. It's in the PC game. I got some hardware. So I just need one. So I really how to move around, how to create forms, maybe see some examples. Because all I need to do is simple add delete some tables. It won't work.
I would recommend you go to a bookstore and I have the book sits on the shelf and never use it because once you've done one, you're good to go. Here's the thing, you can't break, okay? You can do anything stupid in this little, try not to outthink, I gotta do something fancy here. Try to use the defaults and then go back later and change positions and whatever. Now, if you've already got something that say runs a procedure or whatever, you can put in SQL calls to get a button. Same button, same multiplication calls an index thing, but you can create a button.